Are you ready, Madam Clerk? Go ahead and call the December 4th regular meeting of USD 431 to order. Roll call, present in person, Jessica, Sarah, myself, and Becky. Neil and Tracy are under the weather, but they're joining us by phone. And Don Fisher is under the weather and is unable to join us tonight, so. Move on to item 3, adoption agenda. Have one addition to the agenda, addition of 8E, discussing the modular at Roosevelt. Everything else I think is correct.
I move to adopt the agenda as amended.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded to adopt the agenda as amended. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Item 4, review of strategic plan. We've tried to bring that up before the meetings just so we can try to relate some of what we do back to the strategic planning.
I'll pull it up real quick.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. I was gonna grab this and I forgot, so. Just keeping that fresh on everybody's mind. It's in your agendas, but, just making sure that everybody understands that. I don't know why it does that. And that mission statement of USD 431 and its community are committed to the success of each student academically and socially. And our vision as graduates will be independent, reliable, and employable citizens in life and career. Looking at our 3 main areas: community, teacher, and student support, retention and recruitment, and communications and accountability.
As we go through our meeting or meetings in the future, we need to try to relate back to that strategic plan and vision statement to make sure we're focused on why we're here. Any questions on that or comments? Not, opportunity for visitors.
I don't like them.
Everybody's
here.
pretty quiet, so. Go on to item 6, consent agenda. Mr. Crowdis?
Most everything's is normal. I do want to point out to you, activities funds, cash balance, we're still having some issues with the reporting of that. Just because of how those are entered into the Skyward program, that's different from our FA2 program. So I did go ahead and include, there are 2 bank statements in there for you reviewing. We have two statements because we do all of our payments out of the checking account. And so there's a activities checking account bank statement with the balance in there of that. And that is as a whole, that is not individual accounts or line items. I know that is something that we're working on trying to get, as well as the money market. Again, the money market is where the revenue is put into and held for a long period of time, and then as we make payments out of the checking account, money is transferred. So the money market account also allows us to earn some interest on those as well. So we're at about 4% interest in the money market account for the activities, as well as and that may not be true on that one. I know at First Kansas Bank we're at 4% on our money markets, but I haven't recently looked at what we're at for our activities fund. But still working with Skyward, Taylor, to try to get those reports like we had previous. It's just a different system, and so I again apologize. There is money in the activities account. I'm still figuring out how to pull things out of Skyward, and that's been a little more difficult than I have realized. But Everything else is kind of as we've seen, negative balances in the cash summary report. Everything else looks pretty good. We do have a negative balance still in the vocational fund. Again, we pay salaries out of that, so we transfer from the general fund into the vocational fund. The other funds that are negative are our title or our federal funds, which, just a reminder, those are reimbursed. So we spend out of there and then we get reimbursed. And so as of today, Taylor has turned in the reimbursement for all of our federal funds that we have available, as well as she's turned in the paperwork to go ahead and get our next state payment. So that takes place about every month, and so she's doing a good job of staying up with that. Questions?
Any questions on any of the case summary report, the check journal, activity fund, cash balance, or the minutes?
I move to accept the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to accept the consent agenda as presented. Any other discussion? Not all in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Thank you. Move on into old business, the letters training stipend.
So in the original allocation of the ESSER 3 money, I had set aside money to potentially hire somebody to help us with learning loss. Kind of one of the plans was to hire Mrs. Reinhardt to come back and help us with some of their curriculum instruction. We've not had any indication that we're going to move forward with that. So what I would like to propose is reallocating that money from ESSER 3 funds to setting aside funds to provide a $2,000 stipend for those teachers and administrators that we have go through letters training. I understand this sounds like a lot, but this, what I have gained from other superintendents and other people that have gone through the letters training, it is 2 years. It's a 2-year commitment, and it's 60 hours outside of the actual classroom to go through the letters training, and the letters training is master's level work. So I would recommend that we go ahead and allow for a stipend. If you would like to discuss it further, I would be more than happy to do that. Otherwise, I do feel like I need a formal motion to reallocate that money, and then I will amend our ESSER 3 application.
Okay. And I think, Carissa, you're in the process of that?
A few of my teachers are.
Okay.
I think I've got 3 right now in it.
Okay.
So would that just be something paid like up front then when they sign up for it, or once they're complete?
We're probably gonna pay it after they've started it. It's free training. We're just paying them for the time that they're putting into it.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna probably start it, and then they have to show, movement in the direction. All of that money also has to be spent by September of '24. So I need to see them making progress on it, and then we'll allocate that money to them.
So it's just like a one-time payout to them?
Just a one-time payout. Yep.
And this doesn't affect their time in the classrooms when they're
No.
teaching?
No, it is actually all pretty. It's outside the class instruction and training, and then they have assignments that they have to do outside, and then they bring back some of that material and actually implement it into their classroom.
And that's also outside of their extra duty pay or something that we're already paying them for.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
so if my math's right, that would be 25 people
Yes.
in it, and you,
Yep. I don't quite have 25 people signed up. I think we said we have about 12, somewhere between 12 in the elementaries that we have signed up. So we're hoping this may be incentive to have some of our others sign up as well.
'Cause I was gonna ask, what if there aren't enough teachers to spend the 50,000? Do we have, and you said we have to spend it by September 2024?
Yeah.
So what happens with that?
Haven't
How does
quite
that
gotten
work?
that far because
Just
I know
curious how that
yeah
works.
a lot of the schools ESSER 3 money. I know some of the schools are struggling with what to do with all of it. So
Okay.
because it does have to the amount of funds that I set aside do have to go to learning loss. So that's part of that 20% set aside for learning loss. And so, we've put into place things like summer school and after school programs and, things like that. And so we have all of that already covered. So I'm hoping we can get as many people as possible here so we don't end up losing out on that money. So I can keep you updated on that.
As you get closer to that
Yes.
September date, you can.
Yeah. Keep
Make some
everybody updated.
adjustments, so. Any other questions? Not, I move to establish a $2,000 stipend for teacher and administrators to go through the letters training to learn the science of reading.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any other discussion? Not, all in favor? Opposed?
Yes.
Did we get both Neil and?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Opposed, motion carries 6-0.
Good deal. I'll publicize that tomorrow.
Okay. Item B, request, oh, you don't,
Yeah, we can go ahead and remove that as of right now.
okay.
That there came some late notice that may change.
Okay. We'll move on to item C, naming of district facilities policy.
When it,
Here they come.
coming to get you, Dean.
They done found you, Sarah. Did you hear it? It
sounded
stopped
pretty
right
close.
outside. I told you they're coming to get you.
Oh, that's not good. So I went ahead and put together, last time we talked about it, kind of the indication was that, kind of removing the 10-year, and putting in there that, the proposed name changes would have significant, special significance and or the person made significant contributions to the school or school system. So I didn't try to overcomplicate this. I mean, if we want to see a little bit more complicated policy as opposed to the one that we have in place, I could sure go back to the one that I was given by Haven that had about 5 or 6 different steps. But just, first stab at this, just kind of letting everybody take a look at this and see what we currently have and then what was proposed.
So basically, you just removed the 10-year requirement.
Yep.
And I think the previous policy worked pretty good, other than the
Right.
exceptions we had to make the last couple, so. I feel pretty good about going forward with it. Any other thoughts, comments?
It's good.
I didn't put a motion on there.
Okay.
If you want to move.
I would move to adopt the district naming policy as presented.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any other discussion? Not, all in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Thank you. Any other old business? Not, we'll move to new business. The rec board position opening.
So we have a rec board position open that is currently held by Mac Holman. Per our last discussion, whenever we had one open that was filled by Tim Boxberger, I did go ahead and put that out on social media to advertise that because that position is needing to be filled by January. And so with that advertisement, I received 3 names: Tegan Brown, Micah Ealer, and then Mac Holman agreed to put his name back in the hat. So it is up to you as the board to fill that position with one of these 3 gentlemen.
Discussion, comments?
Who holds the second one? Cause it says as one of 2.
Tim Boxberger filled that one.
Just to refresh there are 5 members on the board, 2 are appointed by the school, 2 by the city, and then
An at-large.
an at-large that is appointed by those 4.
Yep.
Correct?
Yep.
So,
And how many years is each position?
It is I believe it's a 2-year position with a maximum of 2 terms,
Okay.
I believe is what that is. 'Cause like, Gary was, our representative, one of our representatives, and he had fulfilled that term and then picked up the at-large position
Okay.
that was open. And so Tim filled our first slot, and then Mac was our second slot.
comments or recommendations?
I mean, I think if Mac has done a good job, he's still interested, I think we could just leave him on, but
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Do I hear a motion for that effect?
sure. I move to accept Mac Holman as one of 2 USD 431 reps to the Hoisington Rec Board.
I'll second.
Motion's been made and second that we appoint Mac Holman as our ESD 431 rec board position. Any other discussion? Not all in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Thank you. Yeah, I think continuity there probably is a good thing, so. Item B, SDAC interlocal agreement.
This is like our Smoky Hills interlocal agreement. The SDAC one is pretty important. We also have our health insurance through SDAC, so I would recommend that we go ahead and approve that. But we also, use them as professional development. That's who our resilience training has been through. We're starting to do something with our KISA and so I would recommend that we approve the interlocal agreement with SDAC.
I move to approve the SDAC interlocal agreement as presented.
Second?
Motion been made and seconded that we approve the SDAC interlocal agreement as presented. Any other discussion? Not all in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Item C, gym space prioritization.
This has been an issue for the last couple of years, but never to this degree. If you're not aware, currently we have trying to use all of our gyms are 4 Rampage teams, 2 Heat, and those 6 are volleyball teams. Then we have 2 MAYB basketball teams, and then I believe we have 5 or 6 rec basketball teams. So theoretically, there is not enough gym space to host everybody. With Rose helping and doing a ton of calls and working with the calendar and the different ones, we have been able to fulfill almost everything, but we've kind of worked under the assumption that rec 100% has to come first after our middle school and high school teams. Then our local teams come next. In season local teams, out of season local teams, and then out of town teams would fall to the end. And so I've tried to put some structure to this. Dean has given me kind of the more expanded policy for use of buildings from the past, and so I'll do some review and looking for the updated version of that. I've presented a draft of some prioritization as well, so I'll start that combination. And then the suggestion has been made that we go ahead and do our, we haven't done it in several years, but do the combination of rec and our meeting together to discuss this topic and approve that as a whole, and move forward with that. One other kind of kink in the whole thing was that we've started to see an uptick in usage of the rec center or the activity center during the winter on Sundays. So the hours are limited on Sundays from 1 to 5, and we're seeing anywhere between 30 and 50 people using the activity center during that time down on the actual gym floor. And so one of the concerns was to continue to have primarily out-of-town teams come and use the activity center for practice, limits our people from being able to use the activity center on a public use time. And so that's kind of moved almost everything out of the activity center on Sundays as well. And so there just continues to be more and more teams made. And I love how there's lots of activities, but I kind of need a structure to be able to say, you get it, you get it, you get it, you get it, you get it down the road. And so at our next rec meeting, I'll present and talk to them. Thank you.
Sorry, thanks.
Present and talk to them about that. But then, we'll schedule that meeting, and traditionally it's been in February. So, but for now, the 1 through 6 on the draft that I presented has been how we've attempted to divvy out the space that is available. Any questions on any of that?
Yeah, so currently then with Rampage, are they gonna be able to continue to use that until this is implemented, or how will that work?
So we have told Rampage that they will be shifted from the activity center after this last Sunday to the middle school, and we've given them a time slot to do so.
Throughout the rest of their season?
Yeah.
Because I know, when people found out, this is why I know we need to have this in place, but I think when the high school boys were trying to find a time on Sunday to practice, and people had found out that Rampage was, using the facilities, I think that upset quite a bit of people, so.
Well, and I was one of the last to find out when the high school boys were gonna practice, and so that's why immediately after I found that out, I did some communication with the coaches to make sure that we were all on the same page, because literally half of last week was spent trying to make sure that we had gym space, primarily for our rec basketball teams, because we didn't get all of our rec basketball teams schedules in until Wednesday of last week. So the boys practicing, boys and girls practicing on Sundays is with that rare occasion, and
Right, I understand,
and if it had been a norm, if it had been any weekend except for last weekend, because we had committed to Rampage having that, and so so that's why I did some communication with the coach. So.
And what I found for Patrick is our policy that was originally adopted in 2008, and then we reviewed it in 2018, and it has very similar to what he has discussed about priorities of usage, so, and how to operate, so.
Yeah.
I think there's not much difference on priorities between what our actual policy is and what we've probably been doing.
Okay.
So. Any other questions on that? That doesn't take any action tonight, just
No,
discussion.
no action tonight, and we've worked with Rampage to try to get them gym space.
And I know Sarah and Becky have both been involved, and we've had those joint meetings. Really, it was probably pre-COVID was the last time we had one, and just kind of an annual
It's good to meet.
schedule to discuss items, and this kind of came up to that as something that probably ought to be discussed. And make sure we're all on the same page with everything. Really, our relationship with the rec commission has been really good, so we just wanna
Yeah.
keep it that way, so. Nothing else on that. Item D, review of fundraising policy.
So I think we all agree there is something somewhere. But from my investigation, actually in the policy handbook, as well as in all of the handbooks for the buildings, primarily the middle school and high school buildings, and the activities handbook, I've not found anything in writing. So the area that it would be that is actually is in as fundraising is JHA, and there's a header for fundraising, but no policy. So I need to go back into some of our old policies, old agendas, and if any of you find anything. I agree, we need to do something. We've had a few instances come up in the past few weeks or so, and then I will also send out an email reminding our coaches and sponsors that we do need to have fundraisers approved before anything is done at the administrative level and the district level. That we've kind of gotten away from that. But by January, I will have I will find the policy that we have in place that we just can't find at this point in time. So I don't know where it's written at, so I just need to determine where that's at.
Any questions on that? If not, we'll move item E, modular at Roosevelt. This would be just a discussion item, so.
So item E is as a result of the idea that in late December, early January, the bid process for the daycare center, the bid for the daycare center is going to bid. So there's the need to remove the modular at some point in time. So in the past, I've tried to get companies to come out and move the modular to little avail. Companies won't respond, or they're out of, the only company that I was able to contact was out of Nebraska. I've talked to Mrs. Walker. It is gonna be an inconvenience because we do use laundry. We're trying to find a temporary laundry solution for them to help out for that building. But there will be a permanent laundry solution when the daycare center is built that we'll be able to use. But my suggestion is that we actually demolish the modular, and I can have bids for the January board meeting for that.
Discussion? Do we, even though I said it was just discussion item, do we need a motion to put that out for bids?
Let's go ahead and do that. Yeah.
So, I move that we solicit bids for the removal of the modular building at Roosevelt.
Second.
Motion Motion's been made and seconded. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. That way you can formally
Yeah.
get started on it. Any other new business? Not, we'll move to reports. Mrs. Walker.
Good evening. First of all, I want to start out, I talked about we had our pre-K and our TK parent-teacher conferences in November, and we had 94% in attendance, so those 94% of our parents came in the building and spoke with the teachers face-to-face. We are doing our fast bridge testing this week with our kindergarten and first grade students. On Wednesday, December 6th, we have an early release, so we'll dismiss at noon. We still feed the students lunch. And then in the afternoon, the staff will be doing a self-care exercise and some resilience training from our modules still. And then on Thursday, December 7th, Mrs. Mason, Miss Reif, and Mrs. Edgerton will be attending Kinder's Can Conference at ESDEC. Mandy and Anita have went to this several times and have really liked it every time, so it's nice if they get the opportunity to go. And then on Friday, December 8th, Mrs. Gala and Mrs. Holman will be attending the Kinder's Can Conference at ESDEC, so it's suited for pre-K and kindergarten teachers, which those professional development are very rare, so we like to send them whenever we can. Also on December 8th, Mrs. Boxberger, Mrs. Rugen, and Miss Kathy will be attending a Greg Tang workshop in Wichita. So he is a math guru. So they are attending that workshop in Wichita. We have a HEPA meeting at Lincoln on Monday, December 11th at 6:30. And then on Tuesday, December 12th, our Roosevelt Christmas concert will be at 7 o'clock at the high school. And then Christmas break is December 16th through January 2nd. And then classes resume on Wednesday, January 3rd. Any questions? No? Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Mrs. Walker.
Thank you.
Mrs. Cowan.
Good evening. It's a busy week at Lincoln. We're doing our benchmark testing for winter. Started out strong today. We have the aides participate in that, and we all help. Got to hear quite a few students read today. It was nice to hear them doing well. Veterans Day assembly happened. Our third graders read letters that they wrote to the veterans. That was Mrs. Schneider's class. They did a fantastic job. It's pretty brave for third graders to stand up in front of people in an auditorium and read, and they did fantastic. Mrs. Walker and I have been working on a grant for some phonics backpacks, and Mrs. Applegate. What that would involve is some leveled readers for the students to take home over breaks, and one of our lowest tiers that are really struggling with some phonics skills. They'd get a book of the skill that they're struggling with, and it has a QR code on the back that they scan, and it does a virtual lesson with them. So just another way to engage parents and help students in their learning. So looking forward to hopefully getting that and provide us with 25 backpacks that we would share. So we've got some big news at Lincoln. U.S. News and the World Report named Lincoln as one of the best elementary schools with a special emphasis in math scores, where we ranked well above. So congratulations to our parents, students, teachers, and staff. Well deserving for all the hard work that they put in. So very proud of them, so congratulations to all. Our second and third grade music concert is at the high school at 7 p.m. tomorrow. Looking forward to that. We also have our early release on Wednesday. Lincoln finished their modules for our resilience training So we're working on extending that and putting it into practice. We will be doing a child abuse simulation with our teachers, provided by the Family Crisis Center, and then they'll follow up with the mandated reporter training. So looking forward to having them in to practice some of our skills and further discussion. HEPA meeting is the 11th at 6:30 at Lincoln. December 14th is our Christmas craft day. So if you want some crazy holiday fun, come on by. It's a fun day. Thank you to everybody who's volunteering for that. We have an abundance of help this year. So we're so excited to have so many people that want to come in and help with that. There's going to be dancing and singing and crafts and snacks and glitter everywhere. So it will be fun. January 5th is our next honor roll assembly. The band is going to be kicking us off at 8 o'clock with a special performance just to welcome everybody as they walk in. They like to do that, and we like them to do that. Just as some nice music to start us off. And then our honor roll will start at 8:15 that day. A few questions people have asked when our 4th and 5th grade concert is. It is on the Lincoln calendar, but just a reminder that's on January 23rd. So we split up the little and the big. So that's again on January 23rd. Any questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you. Are you covering or they
They've got
posted?
them. They've got them posted. Mr. Brungart, Mr. Flowers, and Mr. Mason all have those posted on your board agenda. So feel free to take a look at those. Mr. Kraft was going to get me some numbers for winter sports, and I don't know if something came up, and he just wasn't able to get that to me for this evening. So.
Any questions on any of those? Like I said, most of those are on your agenda. So, superintendent's report.
Well, just the first thing is, congratulating our football team for their successful season. It didn't end the way that we wanted it to, but we sure did have a good time where we were going. So it was quite the day. We took a full, pep bus, as well as I believe our crowd did very well in representing Hoisington and the community. Both with sportsmanship and with our numbers as well. So great season to that, and just kind of a culminating thing for the fall, moving into the winter. ESP and ES2 continue their work on the HVAC control systems. They are finished with Roosevelt, with the exception of just the online component. It's there. But they've still got a few of the graphics to finish up. They're working at the high school, coming along really well with the high school with some of the challenges that an old building gives, as well as each time they find a new piece of equipment, they add it to the controls. So they found several of the units that were just put on ghost mode and were not actually included in the control system, and they're adding those into the control system. So that's being done. So they're being very thorough. I believe we're getting up on the roof today and some last week to work on some of the newer rooftop units. They will move to the middle school next. And then finally, the activity center will be their final place, with the hopes that they'll be able to finish up before the end of January. So ESP continues to give me daily updates, and then we meet, myself, Carrie, Tyler, the ESP gentleman from their home offices, as well as the gentleman on site, as well as the ES2. We meet on a weekly basis and go through what they've done, what they're working on, and kind of a 2 or 3 week look forward. So it's been a pretty good process through that. So ES2 has been really, really good to work with. Contacted Purple Wave on having them come out. We have several items that we've approved for surplus auction out in the district garage outside, including the old gator. So we're continuing to get that taken care of, as well as look at continued replacements for that gator that would meet the needs that we have at the high school to replace that. Our new mower came in last week. The final bill on that was $7,726.35, a little bit higher than I had originally quoted you in some of the earlier communications. We did go with a little bit larger engine for longevity with that, and it's a rear discharge, so that we're not spraying grass and whatever towards vehicles and windows and different things like that. So we hope to be able to get that in operation come this spring. We are going to go ahead and purchase a mower jack to be able to do some of the upkeep on that on our own, as well as an extra set of blades that we can change out as we need to. Carrie and Trish and I have been working with Frontline. Frontline does a lot of different things for us. We do our professional development, tracking and housing of all of those points. We use them for our substitute tracking as well, and they have a online application and open position portal. So we're in the process of building that. That will be linked to our website, as well as a nationwide job posting area called K-12 Job Spot. It won't eliminate our use of KansasTeachingJobs.com, but it will enhance that as well. But the main area of emphasis with this, it'll give us an online portal from application to hiring, of being able to track those and be able to get that information, not only to our principals, but also to Trish and HR, and being able to oversee those applications by those involved. So we should go live in about 2 months with that. As the two ladies have mentioned, November 6th, the two of us, as well as Mr. Mason and Mr. Brumgard and myself, will be going to ESDAC to meet concerning our KISA accreditation. We will actually spend a lot of time learning about the process, but then we'll also have some time to sit down and talk with Pratt. That is our intention, is to partner with Pratt at least through this year, and maybe even longer, to bounce ideas off of one another and learn from one another through the accreditation process. Just received this email today that Lions is hosting a negotiations prepping seminar with KASB. So as we get into that negotiations time, that is something that we could attend as a training for that required training for those of you that might be on the negotiations team again. So that's coming up on January 31st in the evening in Lyons, and I'd be more than happy to provide transportation to that. Kind of borderline between board and my report, but Julia and I had the opportunity to go to the boardmanship workshop on a Friday. That has been revamped. If you've been to the boardmanship workshops in the past, it is much different, much more in depth, much more, I felt clearer and better to understand overall. So I would even suggest that maybe as we move forward and we get our new board members in place, we might have Gary or one of the other staff come out and do a refresher on boardmanship. And I felt like it was a good day. I hope Julia got a little bit out of it, drinking out of a fire hose. So, but that's all I've got at this point in time.
Any questions for Mr. Crowder? Not legislative reports?
Nothing at this time except for, if you're not aware, Sherry Brantley has filed for the House of Representatives election position. Tory Blue is filing for the Senate position, and so that's going to leave our House of Representatives position open. So she has contacted me, and she hopes to be at least one of our board meetings coming up in the future. So,
Very good. Board member reports. Anybody have anything?
No, just wanna say, I know he's not here, but just thank you to Don and yourself for serving on the board.
Okay.
well,
Appreciate it.
Yes.
It's been a
Thank you.
pleasure working with you.
I think it would be an appropriate time.
Yeah, right. I'm feeling that well, so.
They have to leave. So we wanna thank you for your time and your service.
Thank you.
For 20 plus years of service to the USD 431, and I know personally, as you've been a mentor to me, and I appreciate it. And so, just a small token of our appreciation for you and Don.
Well, thank you.
For all the time.
And I wish Don was here to share the moment. And I'm sure he wishes he was here too.
Yeah.
So.
We always did say we'd have a special board meeting.
Yeah, we
can slide it in there.
I think we'll probably wait on that one. So, thank you very much. It's been quite a ride for 20 years. Now for the fun part. Can we do it in 30? Try it?
Sure.
Sure.
Or do you want 45?
Still early.
Still early.
Yeah.
I move we go into executive session for 45 minutes pursuant to the discussion of non-elected personnel under the KOMA exception for the purpose of discussing nominations and resignations with Mr. Crowder present. The meeting will resume at the board meeting at 8:30.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Should we include Mr.?
If you would like to, for the coaching positions.
Okay. I would amend that to include Mr. Flowers as called, so.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 6-0.
You want him to come back right away?
This will come back right away. That way you,
Picture with mom, for mom.
no,
There you go. Here's your nameplate.
Huh?
I don't wanna get
Oh,
put it in the wrong bin.
oh, okay.
What did I do?
and you know where I live.
That's right. I'll just pay you a visit.
Before you leave, I do have some checks.
Ah, no, sir,
Not the whole
What?
folder, it's just,
got checks.
Oh,
and then some contracts, that's fine.
Okay, let me figure out where I'm at.
Chili wrap.
Shut the heater off already.
Computer logged out.
Call the meeting back into regular session with the following recommended motions. So I move to accept the nomination of Hannah Lurin for position of Assistant Robotics Sponsor as presented.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. All in favor?
Yes. Yes.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Move to accept the nomination of Christy Ferguson for position of head middle school girls wrestling coach as presented.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Yes.
Opposed?
No.
Motion carries 5-1. Move to accept the nomination of Carter Wolf for the position of head middle school boys wrestling coach as presented.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. All in favor?
Yes.
Opposed?
No.
Motion carries 5-1. I move to accept nomination of Duke Turner for position of assistant middle school boys wrestling coach as presented.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Yes.
Opposed?
No.
Motion carries 5-1. And I think that concludes,
I do not have any negotiations at this time.
have no other negotiations.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded to adjourn. All in favor?
Yes. Yes.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Thank you all very much.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good one. Get to feeling better.
You too.
Thank you, Mr. Flowers, for sticking around.